You're listening to the Borderliners Podcast, where we interview peripheral characters from the fringes of Israeli society and show you a different side to life in the Holy Land. Subscribe using your favorite podcatcher or visit us online at borderlinerspod.com. And now, the interview.
Welcome back to the Borderliners Podcast. Our first guest on the show, the honor of the first inaugural guest. You are the founder of Fckplstc, reusable bamboo straw purveyor. Sam Schubert, thank you very much for coming on.
Oh, thanks, Dan. Thanks for having me. And Nina.
And Nina, of course, co-host Nina Rabinowitz is also in the Borderliner studio. Sam, you've done a lot of very, very interesting things over the past 2 years. You have a sideline. You're an actor. You're a commercial actor.
Yeah, that's what I love to do.
You're involved in a currency exchange startup.
I was, yeah.
You were, and now what you're obviously most known for is Fckplstc. So, how did you get into this whole entrepreneurial streak? That's been very much your vibe.
That's a good question, Dan. That's a good question.
Thank you, Sam.
Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't. First of all, I don't consider myself an entrepreneur, and I think that word is thrown around and it's completely lost its meaning. I think, don't you guys agree, man?
Yes.
When I hear of entrepreneur, I think of Steve Jobs and Richard Branson.
I think of you as a disruptor. You see problems and you come in and you actuate disruption.
Yeah, I would say more I think maybe it's my lack of confidence within my to call myself an entrepreneur because I haven't made a lot of money. But I mean, it all started with just I need money. I don't have any right now. How can I make that work, And so that's what started. I mean, that's how U-Change was started, which was a couple years ago, which was the currency exchange application. Was just saving money, from foreign currency exchanges and seeing that I was losing a lot of money to the banks, so our friends we just started doing it amongst ourselves with credit cards to save money. So that's how that started, and everything else that I've done has just been ooh, here's some more money, monthly income, and then it turns into a business and stuff.
Is that your plan? First of all, it's a great answer because it's sounds like it's the truth.
Entrepreneur is someone who has these high-tech startups and big companies and they've made millions of dollars and they're doing very progressive stuff. I don't consider myself an entrepreneur. Maybe a hustler would be better.
Yeah, hustler.
Hustler.
World-renowned hustler.
Sam, your whole story about how Fckplstc came to be is actually pretty interesting. So another thing a lot of people know about you're big into surfing, right? You had some sort of a incident and you just tell us the story about how that started, because that was kind of the impetus for...
So surfing was always a dream of mine. I grew up in Ohio with no waves, saw a Disney movie about surfing when I was a kid and always wanted to surf. So when I got to Israel, I started surfing seriously, learning how to surf. Learned how to surf for a couple years, I think 3 years. And then one day in 2017, I was surfing with a friend, and his board we crashed on a wave, and his board hit me in the head. The fin of the surfboard hit me in the side of my head. And it wasn't dramatic at all. It was a small wave, and it was a nice strong whack, but it gave me I guess a acute brain injury.
You got a concussion or something?
Yeah, for sure concussion. But then I've gotten concussions before in football, and they gone away in a couple days, maybe overnight, maybe in a week, and even the side effects weren't that bad. I still went to school and whatnot. This one, after 2 weeks, it just kept getting worse and worse, and it turned into a whole year ordeal of basically trying to heal my brain, and it takes, that type of injury is really tough to get through. I got into the anti-plastic market, or the reusable markets, is in order to heal your brain, or when you do get hit in the brain or the head. Nina, you had brain surgery, right?
Brain surgery.
I don't know if it's the same, but when you get hit in the head, there's a filter in your brain that filters blood that gets to the brain and makes sure that all the toxins don't get into your brain.
You're talking about the blood-brain barrier, right?
Oh, damn.
I did. We did our research, Sam. It's very professional. Yeah. We have three researchers, producers working at the Borderliners Podcast.
I bet, yeah. Yeah, so that gets messed up. So all the stuff you eat and all the toxins, beer, carbs, fast food, chocolates, all the good stuff like that usually I could take. Like as soon as I would eat something, like my brain would be completely fucked, like out of my mind.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and so I had to start like learning with the brain, nourish my body with healthy foods. And
how did that manifest though? Like you would eat something and you'd feel brain fog. What kind of
brain fog? But like even if you eat like a falafel or like pizza, it inflames your stomach. Like all of it, I think depends on the person, but all of the toxins that we take into our body, or a lot of the problems that come up in our body, I think, I'm like so far away from being a nutritionist or whatever, is based off of inflammation. So when anything inside is inflamed, everything else communicates. So when your stomach's inflamed, your stomach's actually your second brain.
Yeah.
And that communicates to your brain to get inflamed. I mean, I don't know the scientific way of saying it other than like you eat something really shitty and then like your brain, like you can feel it now even when you eat crappy stuff. Like your brain just goes into like sleepy mode, you know?
Mm-hmm.
This would just go into pain mode, so...
Yeah, I subsist on it. I've been living on a diet of predominantly falafel for the past 4 years, so I don't even know what the alternative
and you
of what you're describing is anymore.
And you wonder why.
Listen, it's still here.
It's a diet of champions.
Cheez-Its.
Oh, I don't eat Cheez-Its. I do eat a lot of sugar though.
No, it's a way of saying Jesus. Jesus.
Got it. Cheez-Its.
To heal your brain, not only do you need healthy food, but even more importantly, you need clean water to your brain, because 50% of the water in your body goes to your brain. Clean water, and once you get clean water, then you start thinking about the plastic bottle or the plastic water bottles you're drinking out of. And I watched a lot of documentaries, and as I do when I watch any of these documentaries, if like half or 1/4 of what they're saying is true, then like it gets you, because they might be biased, they might be nuts, whatever. Still, it takes a lot of money and a lot of effort to make those documentaries, and if 1/4 of what they're saying is true, then I listen.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying that basically part of your recovery you needed to have good quality water, but the water, Israel. Firstly, I mean, I know you're not a plastics campaigner. You're just a guy. This is your business, right? But there has been a lot of discussion recently about how bad the plastic problem in Israel is. It's actually I think the statistic is that the like per capita use of reusable plastic products in Jerusalem specifically is like among the highest in the world, if not the highest in the world.
Some of them,
which makes complete sense.
There was per capita drinking cups. We use more plastic or single-use drinking cups per person in the world.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah, because like everyone's just like coffee cups, water cups in the office, I guess, which is whatever. And the whole plastic thing, like it wasn't necessarily the brain trauma that I got from it. Kind of closed the loop. But when I was surfing, I'd be surfing in plastic bags, and there's
seas are clogged with plastic.
Yeah, so like there's a problem in Israel in the summer, which is like my favorite time to surf because it's not huge waves and they're not small waves. There's jellyfish in the ocean, so like every time I hit those plastic bags, I thought it was a jellyfish, and it just really pisses you off.
Yeah.
You're just like, what the hell, like, like like you get scared it's a jellyfish, but really it's a shitty plastic bag, and it's like on you, and it's just disgusting. So like, I guess that's why surfers and anyone who's involved with water sports or water activity, and it's like part of their life, are the first ones who probably are so involved in this anti-plastic movement. Mm-hmm. I mean, I wouldn't say it's not even a movement anymore. It's just reality.
Plastic free Israel.
Plastic free Israel.
There's a lot of organizations that are really, I think, gaining traction at the moment, which is it's pretty exciting. And it's a good time to do this interview.
Plastic Free Israel on Facebook, just that name. You just go there and go to their events and stuff, and it's a huge community in Israel, full of English and Israeli speakers that campaign and market and know everything about the plastic issue in Israel, and have campaigns on ways to decrease our use or ways to raise awareness. Those are awesome.
I think they're currently advocating that the new law that the Ministry of Health is requiring supermarkets to individually wrap
because of
produce.
But that was to solve the food waste problem, right? Yeah.
Israel, is that what it was? I didn't understand why they had that.
Yeah, Israel does not give a shit about plastics or the nature, and I do not blame them at all. At all.
Why?
Because I think that they have, I mean, first of all, I don't know, but like I get it. Like any change or any situation like costs money. Like for instance, all of these biodegradable, quote unquote, single-use plastics aren't biodegradable. Like you need an industrial size composter. There's I think a few in America, whatnot, but Israel would have to get an industrial size composter. Now to use biodegradable single-use plastics and like say, oh, it's just going to compost. It's not going to compost and turn into soil. It's actually going to be similar to regular plastics. But if everyone starts using them and then one day, the government builds one of these industrial sized composters, then I guess there wouldn't be a problem. So I'm not so against it, but like I'm also like calling bullshit when you see bullshit,
The problem is really that the stuff ends up in the water, right? Like that's another interesting thing about you. You have your own water filtration system. You haven't used products like bleach in like a decade. Incredible stuff. You very much live by the plastic-free mantra.
I definitely use plastic, but because of the way I got started, because of those disgusting plastic bags when surfing, I like just decided, I don't know if I made it conscious or it just kind of just happened that I was just like, I have to stop. I think it was that, and seeing a documentary, I was like, I need to do something about this plastic bullshit. Like, just because I was pissed, and I think I stopped buying trash bags, and I used my small little wicker basket as a trash can, and then used the plastic bags I was buying my food with that they would give me as trash bags. Therefore, like I reduced my plastic stuff. I only use single-use plastic bags if they're big enough to fit that trash can. If not, then I'll just like. I actually like will throw. I don't know. I'm working on it. I'm still working on it.
It's a work in progress.
Yeah, but like, I'm not someone who's gonna like preach, even though I think it's really important. It's not my personality. What Plastic Free Israel is doing is like, I think, if not the most important thing, because they're spreading awareness and having these campaigns, and it's like, that's kind of how laws get passed, is by like all of this awareness that they're spreading. Mm-hmm. I'm more of a person that like sees like a market that I would like to be my friends and like to speak to and sell to, and be like, oh, like I could make a product and sell it to these people, and like it's like a win-win. Like they get something cool, I make something cool, and I make money. Where do you produce it? Thailand or Vietnam?
Vietnam, yeah. So you went to Vietnam.
Well, FCK Plastic right now is just bamboo straws, reusable organic bamboo straws that lasts for like a year, maybe two, if you use it properly. I mean, clean it properly, and it comes with a coconut fiber brush. I started with straws because it was just the easiest thing to get going to learn how to sell things online, because they're small. They're really the poster child of the anti-plastic movement, because it's very easy. You don't need to use a straw, Right. Just like say no straw, and like everyone uses straws, and then like that just ends up in like turtles' noses, as you've seen on Facebook.
I have seen your apartment, which was at one point, perhaps it still is. It is a combination of a living facility and a straw warehouse.
Yeah. They're going by fast, so it's getting less. I'm getting more room to live in.
Where are all the places you're selling to? Like I know you're selling here, but
we sell online and then sell to retail stores here and restaurants right now. But
online, like you're shipping them.
Yeah. I gotta find a better system to do that. But right now, like the idea right now is just to get it into all of these retail stores, like health food stores here. It's like the first stage, and then the next stage is like I'll sell it online.
Oh, I thought you already sold to the U.S.
Like people in the
U.S.
It's like not like in massive. And then I'm leaving in 2 weeks to go to the Caribbean to try to make a deal with a distribution company there. Because the straws are illegal there, and they're all using paper straws.
Interesting.
And everyone hates them because they melt in your mouth.
Right.
And so I'm gonna go and with like a bag of my bamboo straws and see if they're interested. I think they are. I think they will be.
I have to play devil's advocate for a second, Sam. What would you say to somebody who said people don't need straws at all? Doesn't matter what material.
I would agree. Well, yeah. If you don't want to use a straw, don't use a straw. I don't use straws, but I use the bamboo straw, and I was just like, "Well, this is great."
Sometimes it tastes more refreshing with a
Yeah.
straw.
Listen, people need straws. So do restaurants. Like, I'm trying to make a buck here, and it's working.
Yeah.
But like, I personally only started using straws when I started selling these straws. But they're really nice.
But now you're pretty. I think you were saying the last day. Now that you're into straws, you already don't use a straw. It gets to the point where it feels weird not to use a straw.
No, I don't use a straw. It's the same thing as like my company's name, Fckplstc, Fckplstc. But
what?
At the same time,
I don't think we can have any attempt to not.
I did not understand that.
At the same time, I still am using plastics, but like I'm working on it.
Yeah.
Like I'm not trying to convert anyone. Like I'm working on myself. Like I think the plastic thing, I see it as just another problem that's gonna get solved. I don't think that the world's gonna end. I think that human beings care about the world just like they care about themselves, and they're gonna fix it. And I also think that there's a lot of health issues related with plastic leaching, not to mention the microplastics in the ocean that the fish are eating. The plastics are in our body. And I feel in my gut that it's a huge issue to our health. These plastics, they're made from oil, and plastic is a magnet for other chemicals. Like it absorbs chemicals. The thing with I don't know, what do you call those animals in the ocean? Fish. My brain's not working. It's Sunday.
It's okay. You had a traumatic brain injury.
All of the sea life are eating these microplastics. And they look like plankton, but they're really like poison pills. Like little microscopic pieces of plastics can hold so much chemical.
Oh, that's interesting.
Like
poison pills.
Yeah, basically poison pills.
It's crazy.
We'll fix this problem. It's a big problem. The only reason why it doesn't seem such a big problem to most people that live not near this, the people that when you're not near the ocean and stuff, like whatever, like. Do you really think about where your trash is going when you throw it out?
I personally think it's an endemic issue. To me, it's two things are very obvious. Firstly, where we're sitting, Borderliners Podcast HQ, there's plastic because our location. We can't disclose exactly where we are for security reasons, but we're nearby Gan Sacher. We're in the Nahlaot area, and there's typically after every Shabbat, we're recording this on a Sunday. There's an influx of plastic that blows up on the wind and reaches here.
This
is true.
If we say we're near Gansaker, like you come to Gansaker at certain times of the year, there's just crazy masses of like.
Charedim.
Yeah, I didn't want to point fingers.
Well, listen, they're a big problem. They're a big issue, but they're not like the main issue. Everyone. Yeah. There's Charedim who. The Haredi community use unbelievable amounts of single-use plastic.
There's dedicated single-use plastic
There's also
stores.
families in Tel Aviv, secular families that have the thing about germs. I don't know, and they use plastics just as much as the Haredi.
Right.
Really?
Yeah, you can't point the fingers at one.
I also think that the plastic bag tax they introduced does not make a difference because it's too low. It's
no.
Well, they canceled it.
They canceled it. Yeah.
Yeah, they can't. It's a classic situation. This is actually Borderliners. But
I was the one who came up with the name Borderliners for the.
Oh,
record.
yeah. Well, we were going to ask you about that.
Yeah, we have to give our listeners a bit of disclosure here that Sam is very much deeply involved in the creation of this podcast, and even in fact is the inspiration. Not just the inspiration, he came up with the name.
Yeah.
Who's a borderliner?
Borderliner?
Who's a border?
What was the inspiration for the name?
I just thought it'd be interesting to speak to Ethiopians and people that I don't interact with in Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Ethiopians, Arabs, Haredim, and all of these people that come
That's a good
from.
idea.
What?
That's a good idea. We should get a.
Yeah, all these people that you don't necessarily if you ask them, hey, I have a podcast, it's about people who come from opposite community, maybe different demographics, but they are towing the borderline of their demographic with other demographics and are doing things that are that you just wouldn't expect.
Yeah.
I'm from just I guess middle America, small town middle America, just an incredible way to grow up. People from where I grew up, whether it be my small town in Southwest Ohio or Chicago, where we all ended up after college, people don't end up coming to Israel and living, maybe for a little bit, 6 months to a year, but they don't usually make a life here. So I would proudly say I definitely am borderliner, meaning like on the borderline of this life here in Israel as well as my life back in America, and just making it, one.
We have there's a lot of definitely international people lined up, including we have an event occurring. I just saw an Eventbrite today, the Summit of the Three, very interesting event. People from Hong Kong and London are coming for. They're describing it. I don't have the website in front of me. It's like the first urban trilateral summit. So that's pretty cool. So we're trying to get in touch with the organizer of that summit in order to get those guys in the podcast, which would be cool. So borderliners, it's a broad definition. There's a lot of different people.
Dan, you really got the good podcast mannerisms.
Yeah, he's a
we
pro.
don't have video footage
video
yet.
for this.
Yeah, one day.
Sam, I want to also ask, because you're something of a renaissance man. You're not just a plastic bamboo pioneer. You also do some acting. Tell us a little bit about your acting sideline.
Yeah.
So I took in college I took an acting class because it sounded like an easy class. And
that was your first acting experience.
Yeah. And I did my scene with my scene partner, and I just like a lot of things in my life. I don't know if you guys feel the same way. Like I did it when I did yoga, when I did surfing, when I started selling stuff. Like things just click, and you're just like, oh my gosh, like that is what I'll be doing for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And it's not so simple, obviously, but it's just like it clicks with your soul, and it's just like it's almost like it just clicks. So I did that scene, it clicked. And then like a couple years ago or something, I had a friend on Facebook asked for an actor for a commercial, and I was just like bored, I think, that day, and I was just.
Or
like,
would you say you were borderliner?
Oh man, you nailed it.
Nailed it.
Cue the drums. Okay.
We don't have a budget for sound effects.
Yeah.
And by the way, our microphones, I'm just looking at the audio. They're not brilliant.
Stop apologizing.
No,
Jesus Christ.
Stop apologizing.
It's
Plug
important that our
for
listeners
a great
understand that.
It's just going to be our friends, Dan. Moron. Okay.
So you were bored one day.
I wouldn't say I was bored. I was busy. But I was like, I need to I had a Facebook ad business at the time, and I was like, I need to put my energy somewhere else. I can't stare at a computer forever. And I did the commercial, and just doing scenes, and it was a big production, which was incredible.
Sorry, your friend. I think we missed the background for it. Your friend was posting looking for an actor.
Yeah, he was looking for an actor, and I was just like, I saw a bunch of actual professional actors that I knew of in Israel message him, and then I messaged him not thinking that anything would happen. Mm-hmm. And they liked, I guess, the way I looked fit their view of the commercial, because there wasn't any acting. It was like a montage where it was like speaking in the back and I was acting. But even that, it was so much work. And it was when the scene needed to be shot, I just had no room for any of my any thought. I had to be completely in the present. So when they say action, and I wasn't even acting, I was moving and acting emotions out, or running, or reading with another person. You just have to put all of your insecurities to the side. Same thing as surfing, when the wave comes, and you just go, and that's what I'm addicted to. And then I took it even further and went to an acting class in Tel Aviv that I dropped out of, unfortunately, after 2 classes, because it was way too slow for me. But delivering a scene is I don't want to bore you guys with a description, but it to go from 0 to 100 and to really just love that process and not care about really the results.
Yeah.
To go from memorizing one word of a whole entire page, and then you have 3 other pages to memorize. So after you get done memorizing the words and acting the scene, you're just getting started. So you just I would just sit by myself in my room and memorize this scene that I had to do an audition for this acting school that I got into. And you're just sitting there and you're memorizing it, and I would match it from the YouTube clip of the movie of the speech that I was giving. And it's just it's a never ending process where you can get better and better and better and better. And as soon as I gave the audition that got me into the class. Speaking of shit, did you guys smell the city the other day?
Yes, it was terrible. It was
It was
So
very, very
bad.
bad.
It turns out that they don't spray shit on the Haredim. They spray a chemical that smells like shit.
Yeah.
Thank
we
God.
We were at an event held by DSR Holdings, and it was very unfortunate. There was very strong smell in the air.
Yeah. So I have a question. Tell us about Naked Benefesh.
Oh my God. Thank you for asking that. Naked Benefesh, helping the Jews of the diaspora come back to Israel one naked butt at a time. So Naked Benefesh is a spin-off of the amazing Zionistic organization Nefesh Benefesh. Helps Jews all over the world move to Israel and live out their dream of living in Israel and making money and making a family. And how easy is that? I mean, just join Nefesh Benefesh.
They're an incredible organization.
Move to
unbelievable
Israel.
work over
I
there.
think Nefesh Benefesh, what they do is good, but they sell a lot of bullshit because like it's like not so easy to live in Israel. How else would they like market that though, right? I owe a lot to Nefesh Benefesh.
Yeah, we all do.
Yeah, I mean they gave me a lot of money. They made things so much easier for me. How could I possibly shit on them? I don't know why maybe it's because like they're easy to pick at, you know, with their posters and like come live in Israel.
Yeah, hashtag live love Israel.
Yeah, live love Israel, and you have these like pictures of these like happy families, and then you have pictures of like successful Aliyah stories. And I'm just like, if you're gonna come live in Israel, like
Is it
based off
because
of Nefesh Benefesh
do you see
posters?
like a discord between your own experience and those kind of like poster families they display?
I was never. I did not move to Israel or quote unquote make Aliyah because of Nefesh Benefesh propaganda. I made Aliyah because like, or I moved here just because I wanted to. You know, I wanted to like a time to balance out and whatnot and find myself. And Nefesh Benefesh provided me with a lot of money to do so. Not a lot, a couple $1,000s or something like that. And they made it much easier as opposed to anyone who, like, you know, that would
Speaking
suck
of speaking of the whole topic of money, obviously, running your own businesses for many years, you have to be pretty responsible. Do you have any tips for Olim Chadashim?
Yeah, bring money, you fools. Do not come here without money. Bring 1 year's saving, you fool. Do not come here without money at all. I was planning on coming here without money, but then I got lucky. By divine providence, I sold a condo in the Trump Tower. Shout out to President Trump.
No way.
Yeah.
Wait, which Trump Tower?
Chicago.
No way.
Yeah, a guy bought it like on the spot for like $3.1 million in cash, and I took a very, very, very small cut from that, which was like, I don't know, $10,000.
This is the first time we're ever hearing the story, by the way.
Wait, so you were in real estate or?
Yeah.
Dwight said he's like Da Vinci. He's like the Renaissance man of the Nahlaot world.
That's Renaissance for people that don't understand
so
Irish.
My ego just is shooting all over the place. But no, I was sitting in the real estate office after I got my real estate license, which took a long time to get. Because I love taking tests, you know.
This is fascinating material. I feel like there's a lot of people who have unknown skills. You know, Hannah didn't know today that I actually did a night course in event management.
Well, I guess Hannah should know that.
She thought that these magnificent events I've been throwing for years, it's like a natural talent, but no, it's formal training in the field.
Oh man, that's funny. Boomerang it back to me then. Trump Tower.
No, yeah, actually, let's just keep on this for a second because that's really interesting. So wait, I didn't know this. I did know you worked in investment banking for a period as well.
First, I started.
You were a coffee buyer.
I will take this time to brag, as my ego is already flaring and
Hashtag humble brag.
It was a Da Vinci comment.
My ego is inflamed as my stomach was when my brain was hurting. So after college, I moved to LA and I worked in the entertainment business.
What?
I was like,
didn't know that.
Did you know that? So I worked.
I knew you went to Chicago. I did not know.
No.
Is that like a euphemism or what kind of?
Oh, you know what? You did tell me this once. What was your?
I was
like personal assistant.
On paper it says like people would say like you're the producer's assistant, but really what that means is like maybe it could mean that you're producer's assistant because a lot of people, the producers are like I guess, contractors who build a building. Like, they're the money
Yeah.
behind it.
Producers are kings.
Architects in a building would be the director in a movie.
Mm-hmm.
And all the actors who become famous and make a lot of money end up becoming producers in their own movies and movies that they like, because then they make the money.
Specifically Southern charming.
Yeah, Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah.
I met him only once. Like,
Oh, really?
yeah, I worked like for him and his family and his friends who ran his production company. But I was cleaning the office. I was getting them lunch. I was setting up meetings for them. I was like supposed to cover scripts, which is like read all these scripts that the producers would get and then give them the ones that I liked. I don't think they even read the ones I liked. But yeah, now here I am shitting on myself again. I could have made it much cooler. And I worked for another woman, lovely woman, Tracy Stanley. She's a producer, or she was a producer in Hollywood. I think she's a yoga teacher, big yoga teacher.
Everyone goes to yoga.
Yeah. And
Says
after
the
that,
yoga
I
teacher.
moved, like after 6 months of that, I went to Chicago and worked for Morgan Stanley in financial advising. And then from there, I went on a spiritual journey to Jerusalem, which is supposed to be 2 weeks.
I thought you were involved in coffee one stage. Did we get that wrong? Your coffee bar?
No.
Well, what about Chicago?
I was a barista. I was a barista here in
okay.
Jerusalem. Yeah. What?
When did Chicago happen?
Chicago happened after LA.
Mm-hmm.
I moved there in like 2011. Worked for a year in finance.
We
His
didn't,
life
we, didn't,
story.
we, didn't, we didn't finish your
I
backstory.
gotta make it quick
apologize.
though. So I did that. Then I went to Jerusalem, searching for spirituality, I guess, and started learning in the yeshiva for like on and off for like a year and a half. Went back to Chicago, worked in finance, had like a big Craigslist store and sold stuff on the street, which I really liked doing.
Didn't know that part.
Didn't know. Yeah, a lot of stuff sold on the street. And then I decided to move to Israel, sold a condo in the Trump Tower by coincidence, got the money, came here, was in Ulpan, which was a Hebrew study for people, went to the army, was in the army when the war broke out in the summer of 2014. I wasn't a combat soldier. I was just a guard. I only had 6 months. And then after that, I got out of the army. I was a coffee maker or barman at Nocturnal Cafe. Probably the worst barman of their history. And thank you to the management of Nocturnal for giving me a job. And then once I got fired from that job for being a shitty barman, I got picked up to do Facebook ads for a friend of a friend, and we started a company. And then he left, and I made my own Facebook ad company, and then I got into U-Change and Fckplstc, dog walking, stuff like that.
And
Oh yeah, we've got about
Dog walking.
and the water bottle situation.
Yeah. I had a lot of.
Well, this would be a very fascinating LinkedIn profile. I feel like I'm not sure if you're on LinkedIn, but you mentioned that you've been on a spiritual journey here. So tell us a little bit. I know you're very much
for
involved.
about 2 weeks when I first got here, and then it stopped.
I feel like what you were saying though about acting and how and like surfing and all the stuff that you got into, it's almost you were like, it's like you were quoting from the Bhagavad Gita. Like it actually was a very spiritual.
Oh, cool.
Did you have any Jewish community where you grew up in Dayton, Ohio, or not so much?
There were Jews there, but I wasn't involved with them, and I'm not really. I don't relate so well to Jewish communities. I relate very well to Chabad, and that's the type of I guess that's the school that I follow in order to become like a better person. But the religion and stuff, like, that's stuff that I struggle with like all the time, and I don't think I'll ever like be, I don't know, I just like learning about myself. I like learning about the creator, and I like learning about things I can't see, and just trying to be like the best person I can be. And that's just in turn turned into learning from the Torah and Hasidus and stuff like that. It's very, very up my alley, I guess.
I have a question for you. You've done all these very interesting things. Probably the last, if I can say this, like conventional job you did was when you were working in Morgan Stanley, right? So
Yeah.
have you ever considered? I've obviously been self-employed for 7 months, but I did work. Have you ever just considered going down the traditional route, looking for an office job in Israel?
I wish I could do that. Oh, in Israel?
Yeah.
Hell no.
Why?
Hell no.
Tell us about that.
Well, because the purpose of my life is not to like just be here in Israel. and like just go about like a regular life. Like there are some people that are here like that are called Zionistic, and like I'm jealous because like that's their purpose to them, and like they can
their
just,
mission.
yeah, they can do anything. Like, you know, just get a job here. You know, I'm in Israel. Like, I'm supporting Israel and everything. Like, I also support Israel, but it's not like my geography isn't my destiny.
Like, it doesn't fulfill you just to live here.
No. I mean, it does for sure to live here. It's so meaningful. It's amazing. It's really hard though, but it's also like I'm very much aligned with the Jews, you know, being here and stuff like that. But me personally, like, I want to, like, you know, I guess be the best person that I can be, and that's like, you know, business and acting and stuff. And right now I'm doing that here, but like,
Would you ever have an office job here?
oh, ever have an office job? No, dude. The jobs here suck. There's so much difference between, and like now that I have my own business and like hiring people and stuff, like I get it. There's just not enough money. No one knows what they're doing. No one has enough time to worry about what they're doing.
Yeah.
They just need to like get it off the ground. And the people are either going to be humble employees who make absolutely nothing but have a job, or they're going to man up, or however else you want to say it, and like make their money and leave that job and do their own thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good theory about how the Startup Nation happened.
Yeah, their Startup Nation happened because there are no jobs. People had to create their own, and no one wants to be an employee.
Yeah, I actually really felt that. You know, there's an aspect. When did you graduate college?
2010, Clemson.
Yeah.
Clemson
Yeah, so I
University.
also
Shout out.
graduated 2010, and there was like negative jobs.
That's what everyone said. I got a job.
You got a job.
Yeah,
Well, you were in LA doing like
LA, I got a
the movie business isn't so affected by
sure.
is it?
Yeah, everyone was affected by the collapse and whatever. But anyway, yeah, it was hard to get a job for a lot. That's what they said. I didn't have a hard time.
We have to ask you a dark question now because this is on our list of standard questions.
Sweet.
What would you consider the low point of your aliyah? The point where the future looked most bleak, you were suffering the most.
I mean, do you have an hour?
Sure.
2 hours?
We'll probably edit
I
it
think
out,
without
but
a doubt the hardest part of my life was going through this
brain injury.
trauma. Yeah, and like not knowing what was going on. Like if I knew what I was about to go through, I would have packed my bags, went back to Dayton, Ohio, told my parents to get me into the concussion ward of a hospital, and just like let go and let the doctors like kind of guide me through the process of healing my brain. But yeah, that was the hardest, but being by myself and like trying to rest and heal and also work and
avoid those microplastics.
Yeah, I did my best. I got like the water filter, and that's what started the whole plastic reusable stuff.
Do you have any tips for somebody who is working one of these unsatisfactory jobs that you mentioned, and they're just making a very basic salary, but they feel like this isn't really their purpose, and they want to do something like what you're doing, but they're scared?
I would say like, I don't know. I wouldn't say anything. I read a quote the other day online that said like a passive life is an anxious life.
I hear that.
That's about all I would say. You know, if you don't want that, like you have to take action, and if you can't take action, pretend to be someone else and act like them, and that will get you like just started. The biggest thing is just like to start doing something.
Let's do some of these James Lipton style questions.
Yeah. Have you seen Inside the Actor? As an actor,
I'm an actor.
have you seen Inside the Actor Studio with James Lipton?
No.
Anyway, he asks the series of like kind of lightning round questions.
Okay.
So
I've
we're
seen
gonna
the inside the actor studio,
Yeah.
but I have. Is James Lipton the name of the host?
yeah.
Okay, yeah, I've seen that.
So he asked we based our lightning round on some of his questions.
Sick. I'm gonna turn my brain off and just answer it.
Yeah, that's
Let
what
me
we
just
want for
drink
you.
this triple filtered osmosis water real quick out of my reusable Hydro Flask water bottle. Thank you.
Wait, where's your FCK plastic straw?
With this type of water bottle, like I said, I don't use the straws that much. You know?
Okay, fine.
I'm just filling.
I just
the
thought we
market
could
gap that
plug.
people that
Yeah.
I think people will respect that. You know.
I agree.
I think that's refreshing honesty from a vendor, to be honest.
Also, it's like it's not like, you know, your goal necessarily is to change the world. You believe that the world will change, but you're going to be there.
Yeah,
you're going to be
I'm
there
just
to
like,
benefit
I
from
see these
and help the
people,
process.
And I see myself like, oh man, if I only had this like specific reusable shopping bag that like looked how I wanted to look and felt like I
Mm-hmm.
could just like, it's almost like I see people and what they need and I give it to them, but I'm not giving it to them for free. Like,
Yeah.
and I want to make the best I can do in order to, because everything has a cost and there's a market for like everything. And I want to make something that is so awesome that it hits the top of that market price that people would pay for, because like they would see something and be like, wow, that's high quality stuff. And I don't want them to think like, oh, I would pay like 50 shekels for that, or I would pay $50 for that. I would want them to just turn off their brain and just pay like, you know, whatever the price is. And it usually would be like, I don't know if I'm explaining that properly, but
Yeah, I can definitely hear the concept of turning off your brain, turning off your mind.
Yeah, I'm just like filling the gap, filling the space where something needs to be filled. And if people really want to use reusable bags, and I make reusable bags from like a responsible source in Vietnam, like it's a win-win for everyone. I make money, plastic use goes down, people enjoy using the reusable plastic bags. They get to brag about it because it says FCK plastic. And a village in Vietnam, which didn't have so much money, now is making like money from the whole cycle. So
lightning round. All right. So the first question is, what is your biggest pet peeve?
Parking lots, underground parking lots.
Okay.
Hate those underground parking garages.
Okay.
It's disgusting. As soon
Yeah,
as
they're
I
pretty
park my
gross.
car, I want
That's
to
a
get
very-
the hell out of there.
That's a very
I know what you
strong
mean.
reaction.
What? I'm a racist against parking garages, so kill me.
I think parking here is problematic. I have.
I'm talking about parking garages.
Specifically underground ones.
Oh yeah, like I am shitting myself as soon as I go under those.
Yeah,
Is it
they're
like
pretty gross.
claustrophobia or
Everything, loss
Yeah,
of
they
control, loss of where I'm at. Will I remember where I parked? You know, I feel like they have complete control over me. You know, like, oh, I have to like go up this like stairwell. Like, where's it gonna go? I feel like I'm gonna get killed.
Yeah, I hear that.
Yeah.
They're pretty sketchy.
Yeah.
What is your favorite drug?
I love cocaine, but I don't use it. You know, I love the culture.
How do you know you love cocaine if you don't
Interesting.
use it?
I just love the documentaries. I love Pablo Escobar. I mean, the guy was a heinous human being, but like,
You also were like a trader.
no, I was a financial advisor's assistant. Yeah, but you can say trader, makes it cooler.
Yeah, no, because I feel like
Yeah,
traders and
no,
cocaine
no,
culture go
like-
together.
Like cocaine, I just like I like the business side of it, like with rappers and stuff. But I would say that's a shitty answer because like,
Don't judge.
yeah, don't judge me. I just like the documentaries and the music and the you know the Miami's of 1980s. And whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah, great question. Thank you, Dan, very much.
I
I like drugs, but I
makes
don't
sense.
use them
It makes
because
sense.
I don't.
You're a clean living guy.
Yeah.
No, I just don't like using drugs when like you're walking around like high all the time, like on weird thoughts. You know.
Right. That's actually so Sam Schubert. Um,
Thank you for sharing that insight.
Yeah. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Okay, I don't believe in heaven, but like we're gonna go with like a Homer Simpson, like Simpsons episode.
Or what would you like to hear him say?
Hey, what's up? I'm like, what's up?
That's funny.
This is actually I'm looking at the question I have to ask you, and I realize there's a huge lapse in the planning. This would have been a perfect main question because you see the world through the prism of wildlife.
Yeah.
That's actually, I think that's the best way I've ever described it. You view your everyday life through hunting and prey. That's how you view the world. We can go into that when we bring you back in the podcast. But if you were incarnated as some other plant or animal, what would it be?
That's two questions.
No, if you were reincarnated?
Yeah, if you were incarnated as, it doesn't matter, plant or an animal.
That's no question. Lion. I'd be a lion.
The Jerusalem lion?
No, lion in Africa, you know, like a
Obviously.
real lion. Who wouldn't come back?
Obviously.
As a lion?
Why
You ever
wo-
been to Africa?
No.
They got them real lions there.
Yeah, I mean, I would be a real like mangy lion.
Why would you not be a mold spore on the inside of a window in a Jerusalem apartment?
Well, that's not a
I
plant.
think that's what you would dream of, but
But-
I would come back as a lion, and if I was a plant, I would come back as a beautiful flower.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I hate bees though.
We kind of touched on this before, but
Yeah.
we'll just see what your answer is for this. What do you regard as the lowest depth of misery?
Oh, holy shit! The lowest depth of misery, I would say, depth.
You're gesturing towards me as if to insinuate that it's
the
my-
lowest depth of misery.
or if it's my
would know.
apartment.
I would say the lowest depth of misery is like doing something that you're not satisfied with, and knowing that like you could be or do something else, but you're not taking the action to do it.
That's a very good answer. And as Sam said that, he was making singeing eye contact across the table. But it's actually interesting you say that, because I think that's the number one. I came across recently a book called
It's like
A
self-imprisonment.
Palliative Care Nurse wrote about the wishes of dying people, and I think are the top regrets, and that's number one. Deep.
Yeah, I love these questions. I'm just getting warmed up. I know we're past the time, but I'm just going. Like,
Should we start doing these questions before
I
at the
just-
beginning of the
If
podcast?
anyone's made it this far through our
Yeah,
second episode, they deserve
they get a
it.
prize from me or something. Yeah.
We'll
you think-
send them a bamboo straw.
A bamboo
Borderliners
straw
podcast.
with the
Bamboo
cleaner.
straw.
What's
And
the cleaner made out of?
Coconut hairs.
Coconut hairs to clean
And
your
if our
bamboo
listeners
straws.
wanted to reciprocate, I would say, I think I've already mentioned this, the microphones.
Oh, shut up, Dan.
Jesus Christ, Dan.
Dan, it's your turn.
What sound or noise do you love?
Say it again.
What sound or noise do you love?
Again, that's 2 questions. Sound
Oh.
or noise?
I'm gonna edit the question. What sound do you love?
What a stupid question. What sound
talk to our
do I
producers.
love? I love the sound of rain on my roof. My tin roof that I have. Yeah. It's not tin really, but it sounds like tin. I like that.
You don't have a tin roof, but certain people very close to our immediate social circle here do live in such circumstances. So we shouldn't joke about it.
Yeah. Do you guys want to hear the story about the devil who was throwing bread on my roof?
Yes.
For years?
Yes.
Oh,
this is a classic
amazing.
borderliner
It's
story. I
amazing.
know.
Amazing.
So anyone who lives in Nahlaot will relate to this, but let's just say I moved into this new apartment, was sleeping the first night, and I hear boom, boom, boom on my roof. And I'm like, holy shit, like bombs are dropping on my roof. Like, what's going on? But every time this happens, I'm in like this twilight of sleep and non-sleep, and I just go back to sleep. So after about a year of this going on in the middle of the night, I came to a conclusion with my neighbor that it was the birds dropping bread from high above in the sky.
When you said you came to a conclusion with your neighbor, like you asked him, or how did that?
No, the neighbor saw like all the bread like on top of his roof, and he's just like, "Mazda, what's this? Why is all this bread?" And it was rotting and stuff, and he's like, "This is crazy." And I was just like, "Yeah, man. Okay, listen, this is what happens. There's birds everywhere, right? And there's cats everywhere. So the birds drop the bread on my roof because it's a flat roof, kind of, so they can eat the bread in the morning and not get killed by the cats." And that's like I'm hearing the sound it makes that it's like bricks are. I'm not finished. Bricks are like hitting the roof for a year and a half. It's like this.
I have to pick this apart. You thought that the birds were orchestrating some kind of a food distribution system whereby they would drop off the bread at nighttime.
Yeah. They would drop it off at nighttime, right? Like that's how stupid this idea was. Like I just was in my room and I was just like, I don't know why, but I just like came up to a conclusion. I was like, okay, it's birds. That makes sense.
I think you kept a log. You logged the times. Right?
Birds would drop bread on my roof. I didn't report it to my landlord at all until it got worse and like kept happening. And I was just like, all right, birds don't fly at night. They're sleeping in the trees.
I also don't think birds are smart enough to work.
I went on a tangent of attacking all of my neighbors, thinking, okay, it's obviously one of these nut jobs who are throwing bread on my roof.
That would make sense for Jerusalem.
They're terrorizing me.
Jerusalem.
They're terrorizing me. Like I can't sleep. Like I'm getting like bombed at night. And so I go up to this one neighbor, absolutely 150% positive that it's him. And because, we almost got into a fight. Like I was like, you're ruining my life. And like the landlord's son was with me and he was speaking Hebrew, like filling in the gaps that I couldn't fill in. We like he like threatened him and all the stuff that people do around here to like get people to stop doing stuff. Turns out that it wasn't this guy. I still have yet to apologize. I need to apologize to him. Turns out that it was another neighbor who's crazy, who lives right next to me, and he just, I don't know why he's crazy, but he would throw bread on my roof for about 2 years. Like he would also scream at night, like, and the guy's lost it. So I took one of the loaves and tried to enter his house, but I couldn't enter his house because he had like 2 lock gates because the guy's nuts, right? So I took duct tape and wrote out like a very like a ransom note almost looking like on a piece
Oh
of
my
paper.
God, that's amazing.
Duct taped the piece of bread on his gate with a note saying, I'm going to call the cops. I'm going to ruin your life. You're ruining mine. All this stuff. And I checked the next day and he took it off and like some of the paint from the gate came off. And I left my phone number and like about a week later, I'm in my room. And I hear this guy come out on his porch going, ah, ah, ah. He's like been living with like torment for about a week thinking I'm going to come get him because he ended up being crazy. Calls me on the phone. He's like, ah, are you the person that wrote this note? Ah. And then like, you know, talking about like, you know, you're going to have to pay 600 shekels for my gate. And as soon as I realized he was crazy, I flipped a switch, one of the most genius things I've ever done, and said, I'll pay for your gate, but I need you to help me find whoever's throwing bread on my roof. There's a devil throwing bread on my roof, and I can't live. I can't sleep. This isn't good. This is what's happening. And he went into protector mode and was just like...
Oh, this is another Sam things. He psychoanalyzes people. It's pretty
but
interesting.
this is genius.
I mind fucked this guy so incredibly amazingly, and... as soon as like he knew that as soon as I said I'd pay for the gate, he like all of a sudden calmed down and asked what I did for a living.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And then I said, were you throwing the bread? And he wouldn't answer the question. Then I was just like, listen, I need you. I'll pay for your gate. I'll come over and I'll give you a hug. But I need you to help me find the devil who's throwing bread on my roof. And he goes, I swear to you and I swear to my mother, no one will ever throw bread on your roof again. I was just like, but are you sure? Are you sure you're going to like... And he's like, yes, I'll get it. Don't worry. I'll take care of him. All this stuff. But
when you said the devil, were you like playing to the fact that you think he's crazy and actually trying to conjure up the idea that some kind of supernatural force?
I switched roles of being angry at him to needing his protection, and did it really quick.
I think you just needed bread to stop falling on your roof at nighttime.
Yeah, but
he made him think
he's
that
the one
it was...
throwing it on my roof. So, but he's crazy.
Let's just hope he doesn't hear this podcast.
Yeah, he doesn't.
I think if he hears this podcast, you've issued a public apology, so that's something.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. Like, I don't care how the result got to it, but I'm at peace. There's no bread on the roof. There's no bombs like at night, and I'm sleeping great.
That's awesome. Along that line, so that was basically the answer of what sound or noise do you love?
I love peace and quiet. No, you know.
Okay, and so
there
then
used to be birds on my roof, like pecking at the bread in the mornings.
Oh,
and I'd
God!
be, like, with the broomstick and like hitting the top of my roof to get the birds out.
Wait, is this your current
place?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I guess would it be fair to say that a sound or noise that you hate is the noise of the bread on?
No, I mean everyone would hate that noise, but a specific sound or noise that I hate, I would say Sephardic karaoke music.
That is so true. I can't even tell you. I used to live...
It makes all of our Ashkenazic ears bleed, including Dan's, because Dan is the most Ashkenazic mother effer on the planet Earth. Yet he thinks he is Sephardic.
I was just going to say it's very
live on Facebook.
It's very, very,
That's not
very
a bad
unfortunate that our guests would abuse the privilege to cast aspersions on my deeply because I care about it.
You're Ashkenazic through and through.
I'm a Mizrahi man.
You're not Mizrahi. You're just doing that so you can play victim, as they, do sometimes.
I face discrimination. Well, I think the interesting thing.
What I
I think the interesting thing is probably that all of us hate sounds that we've personally been afflicted by. So I'm afflicted by two sounds on a daily basis. One of those is horns. Because we're living in Borderliners HQ, we're about 10 meters from a major road artery, but it's very, very noisy. I hate horns and I hate the sound of drilling because I have been tormented since last August by relentless 5 hours a day of drilling. And I was going to say something offensive, but
there's no need to move, Dan. Just stay here and suffer and listen to your fucking
once I left Nahlaot, I was so happy. I used to live in the summer, I had to leave my Mirpesed door open to the traffic of Bezalel because it was so hot, and we refused to put on the AC, which we did have.
I would like to make a public service announcement that I need to stop cussing. I think I've been using the F word based off of my own insecurities on being a podcast, and I don't think it's necessary. I think that's like it's like making up for feeling weird that you're on a podcast and like people judging you maybe or what you're saying, so you just start cussing.
Is it maybe that the setup is too professional that you're not used to being in such
No, I think
we are very professional here at Borderliners.
It's a cop out to like trying to sound cool. and like I think I can.
I just
I'm
want to
guilty.
put. I haven't used any profanity
I
so
just
far.
want to be cool.
If peeing in your pants is cool.
I didn't
Yeah.
have to.
How-
We
how are
did.
you
We
guys
did a.
gonna
We
get
did a
people
good
to see
viewing
this?
today. We did a viewing, and the woman who was giving us the tour said, "Oh, Nahlaot zakamohodu." Like Nahlaot is like India. I think it's,
In
I
a
think
way.
it's, I think it's hopeful if Israelis regard this as a primitive slum, which is exactly what Nahlaot is. It's an overpriced primitive slum with tiny pockets of civilization. It's
Well, yeah.
like what is it? Sao Paulo. It's like the disparity within Nahlaot is unbelievable.
So actually, Nahlaot, which is the neighborhood where Borderliners HQ is and where Sam and Dan both
Jerusalem.
live in Jerusalem, it used to. Fun fact: it used to be called Shchunat Hapach or something like that, which is the tin, the neighborhood of tin, which could also be translated as the garbage neighborhood.
So
Which is
funny.
very fitting.
Yeah, but
Should
it's
be
really
the
because of the
cat
tin
neighborhood.
roofs. Yeah.
Hey, let's feed the cats in Jerusalem.
This is another very, very smart proposal along the lines of the plastic wrapping genius scheme.
Yeah. What is it?
That's for another day.
What, feeding the cats of Jerusalem? I don't
Jerusalem,
know.
in speaking of
I don't know why
fascinating
the mayor
per capita
decided that-
statistics, we also have apparently, you posted this on Facebook, Sam,
yeah.
the highest per capita. How who keeps figures about this? Firstly, I'm a bit suspicious. How do they measure that? In any event,
What
it's
are they
claimed-
measuring?
It's claimed that Jerusalem has the highest per capita concentration of feral stray cats anywhere on the
World.
planet.
In the world. I don't think it's Nahlaot. I think it's
No,
Jerusalem.
they said
Yeah.
the world. The article said the world. They had you posted some on Facebook. They even brought a
My
zoologist
only
from Hebrew
political post
University.
ever on Facebook was against this freaking cat law. To feed the cats. They should kill the cats, not feed them.
I feel like the zoologist from Hebrew University that did this was like, finally, I get to put my work to good use.
Yeah, totally. But like the zoologists and everything, they were like, if you feed the cats, like they're gonna like kill off, like I don't know, I actually forget exactly what he said, but like he made a very like objective, like intellectual. Like,
No, he just said
argument
he
to
said
be
it's
like,
a stupid proposition. He
Yeah.
said you're obviously not going to reduce the cat density
But they
by
also
feeding the
spend,
cats.
Like, they're gonna spend like $40,000 with cat food or something, but it can't be. I honestly think it's to something else. Like they're feeding the cats so that they'll congregate and then they'll like capture them and then like ship them off to I don't know,
Tel Aviv.
Tel Aviv.
The cats were brought. I think people listening to the podcast and this kind of stuff. This information has been suppressed because it's explosive, because it's politically charged. Jerusalem has people think all kinds of things about Jerusalem. What they don't know, this cat image has been hidden from the world.
Well,
in my
actually,
opinion,
Disney-
very, very deliberately, because it goes against the idea of a startup nation. That in fact the entire country is infested with disgusting feral cats, and this
Yeah,
information has been
it's
systematically suppressed by those in government, by those in power, and we are in Borderliners podcast need to get the word out that it's an epidemic, and it's an epidemic that's only going to get worse.
I'm actually studying epidemiology, so I can
Oh, geez.
You're
confirm.
disqualified to
I can confirm after one
We have a
semester of
cat
school.
epidemic. What does that
We have a
mean?
cat epidemic. Although I would much prefer cats over rats. So the thing with the cats here, there used to be rats, and then during the time of the British
yeah.
Empire, they brought cats over. Yeah.
Okay.
There's important information. The cats were actually. It's not clear if they were airlifted, if they were parachuted. The exact mechanism by which
I
the
believe
cats
they were
arrived
parachuted.
has never been disclosed.
They were,
Again, it's been suppressed.
They
if you
were
ask me.
cannonballed. Like in did you see Richie Rich? The
Of course, I've
great
seen
movie.
every.
Or like talk to like zoinked out like Jerusalem, like they'll be like, oh, they're the reincarnated souls.
But it's a very.
Oh
it's,
my
it's,
God,
It's
yeah.
a very. It's a very.
It's like,
it's,
no,
it's,
they weren't. They're
No,
fucking cats
I've
for
heard that.
it's a very Israeli story. That was.
whatever.
my brother told me that his
If
rabbi
so,
that
kill
his
them.
rabbi in yeshiva, who by the way we should totally have on Borderliners because I think he is a borderliner. He used to say like he was telling someone how this cat used to follow him all like around all the time, and he realized that like he had some past karma with this cat,
Yeah.
and the cat or the cat had some past karma with him that the cat wanted to repair. So after a while of this same cat following him for like months, he turned around and goes, "I machol you," which is basically "I forgive you." And then suddenly the cat stopped following him. Isn't that interesting? I don't know if it's real.
It's
But
a
it's
funny picture.
Yeah, and it's a story told to some yeshiva boys that
Yeah, why
probably
not?
believed
Why not?
it, or maybe it was true. I
I
don't
think
know.
that's also a good segue, Nina, to make an appeal to our listeners and the general public. If you know of a borderliner, you have a friend who's kind of weird, He's edgy. He's almost insane. Maybe he even is insane. It doesn't really. These are the type of people we're looking for. If it's you, if it's your friend, it doesn't
I'm
matter.
not insane.
I never said.
So the way that I see the evolution of borderliners is not that it's just crazy people, because we have way too many crazy people in Jerusalem and in Israel in general
Crazy
that we
people,
can
capital of the
interview.
world.
It is the crazy. That's why I live here. It's a crazy capital of the world.
Yeah.
However, it's the crazy people that actually have the deepest wisdom to
The
share.
line between insanity and genius is very, very thin line.
Oh,
Very thin.
walk the line.
We all walk the line.
I walk the
If people
line.
do want to find our email, is host@borderlinerspod.com. We're also on borderlinerspod.com, as well as many podcatchers that are out there. Sam, if people want to find out more about Fckplstc, where can they do so?
Easy. Fckplstc on Instagram and Facebook. And
Capital F and everything else is lowercase, and it's all together in one word.
Yeah.
And
Thank
I
you,
just
Dan.
want to translate this for our Israeli listeners. Fckplstc on Instush is
Instush is Israeli?
Israelis love calling it Instush.
Oh, that's
Strudel. Is there no strudel in the
Oh, sorry, I don't know how that's
We
started.
also need
We'll
to
do
inject
research.
context that the @ symbol is named after a Danish pastry.
Yum.
Okay. I think I'm done, guys.
Nina Rabinowitz.
It is I, Rosehill, Danielle.
It's the end of the world.
And
as we know it.
singing REM
It's the end of the world.
is Sam
No,
Schubert.
it's just the end of it's just the end of this
And
episode.
I feel fine. You know, like that scene in Independence Day where REM's playing and the guy's on this radio station.
It's been a while since I saw
I also want to
Independence
say
Day.
quickly, just before we do cut off, because I'm looking at the mixer blinking, that we are indebted to the help of Yoni
Friedlander.
Oh, man.
Who held a
the
remote-
What's his
legend.
business name?
held a
What's the
remote
name of his
Mixed
business?
by John.
Mixed by John.
Mixed by John. He's so good at what he does. He's an audio engineer that he was actually held a remote. He remotely diagnosed our mixer settings. And why do we have a mixer, Nina, not an audio interface like most podcasts?
I don't know. It's
Certainly
AliExpress or
viewers-
Amazon this time.
Our viewers could help out in that respect.
One day we may do this live. I think.
You could do it right now.
Well, it's a little late. We just did our podcast. All right, signing off.
the end of the
Borderlinerspod.com.